She was a scavenger who slept on a mountain of rotting garbage, her voice drowned out by the rumble of dump trucks. 10 years later, she stood alone on a New York City stage, silencing thousands not with a plea, but with a note so pure it made the toughest music moguls weep. This is the story of how one woman climbed from the Manila slums to a standing ovation that changed her life forever. If you love stories of hope and triumph, please subscribe to join our family. The smell was the first thing you noticed. It was a thick, suffocating stench of decay that clung to your skin and hair, a smell that the people of Smoky Mountain in Manila knew all too well. For Maya, it was just the scent of home. She grew up in a shanty made of corrugated metal and scrap wood, perched on the edge of the city's massive garbage dump. Every day, before the sun could paint the sky, Maya and her mother would join the thousands of others, picking through the fresh trash trucked in from the wealthy districts. They searched for plastic bottles, tin cans, and anything that could be sold for a few pesos. It was a hard life, a dirty life, but it was the only one Maya knew. At night, to escape the reality of her world, she would climb to the highest point of the dump, a place where the methane gas from the decomposing waste created flickering blue flames in the dark. There, with the city lights twinkling in the distance, she would sing. She sang Kundiman, the traditional Filipino love songs her mother hummed while she worked. Her voice was a fragile, beautiful thing against the grim landscape, a secret she shared only with the smoke and the stars. Life on Smoky Mountain was a constant cycle of survival. Maya never went to school. Instead, she learned to spot the glint of copper wire and the value of different types of glass. Her hands were perpetually scarred from sharp objects buried in the waste. But her voice remained untouched, a hidden treasure. One blistering afternoon, a small miracle occurred. A young man, clearly lost, wandered to the edge of the dump, his expensive camera hanging around his neck. He was a music student from the city, looking for unique subject matter for a documentary project. He saw the poverty, the scavengers, the mountain of filth. But then he heard a sound that didn't fit. It was a melody, clear and high, cutting through the smoky air. He followed it and found Maya, a small girl with intelligent eyes, singing to a litter of puppies she had found in a discarded box. He recorded her on his phone. He didn't stay long, but he left behind a card with the name of a local music school. He told her, "You have a gift that doesn't belong here." Years passed. The memory of the stranger faded, but his words planted a seed. Maya, now a teenager, worked double shifts to save enough money for a second-hand dress and a bus ticket. She decided to audition for a popular television talent show, the same one she watched on a crackling black and white TV in the village Sari Sari store. The day of the audition was a disaster. The city kids were polished and confident, wearing designer clothes. When Maya's turn came, she walked onto the stage in her simple, worn-out dress. The judges looked at her with polite skepticism. But when she opened her mouth to sing, nothing came out. Stage fright, thick as the fog on her mountain, choked her. She froze, mumbled an apology, and fled the stage, her dreams crumbling into dust. The rejection was a deep, familiar ache, and she returned to the dump, convinced that the stranger had been wrong. Her voice was just a fantasy, a foolish escape from a reality that would always hold her down. But the story was not over. Unknown to Maya, the student who had found her years ago had never forgotten. He had kept that old recording, and now, a decade later, he uploaded it to social media. He simply captioned it, "The Voice of Smoky Mountain." The video exploded. It was shared by millions, viewed by news outlets, and eventually, it reached the producers of the biggest singing competition in the world, based in the United States. They sent a team to the Philippines to find her. They found her on the dump, now a young woman, still scavenging, her voice still silent to the world. When they asked her to sing for them, right there, with the dump trucks in the background, she did. This time, her voice didn't fail. It soared, filling the vast, open space with a power and emotion that brought the hardened production crew to tears. Her journey to America was a culture shock of epic proportions. From the stench of the dump to the sterile air of a Los Angeles airport, from a shanty to a five-star hotel, Maya felt like she had landed on another planet. On the night of her blind audition, the famous judges had their backs to her. The millions watching at home saw a petite woman with sun-kissed skin and a nervous but determined smile. The music started, a simple, haunting melody. And then Maya began to sing. She sang a song of longing, of loss, of a love for a mother who worked herself to the bone. It wasn't just a performance, it was a confession. Before she reached the end of the first verse, the first judge slammed his hand on the button and spun around, his mouth agape. One by one, the others followed, until all 4 chairs were facing her, their faces a mixture of awe and disbelief. The stadium erupted. It was the first time in the show's history that a contestant had received a standing ovation before they even finished their song. But the biggest twist was yet to come. As the audience cheered and the judges fought to be her coach, the lead judge, a notoriously cynical music mogul, stood up and walked onto the stage. He approached Maya, took the microphone from her trembling hand, and spoke words that would stun the world. "I know this voice," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I have been looking for this voice for 10 years. You see, that lost music student who found you on the garbage dump, that was my son." The audience gasped. Maya stared, uncomprehending. The mogul continued, his eyes glistening. "He passed away a few years ago. But before he did, he made me promise that if I ever found a voice as pure as the one he recorded that day, I would dedicate my life to it. I am looking at that voice right now. Welcome to the family." The stadium dissolved into chaos, tears, applause, a moment of serendipity so powerful it felt scripted. Maya didn't win that competition, she finished as the runner-up. But she won something far greater. She was signed to a major label, her debut album went platinum, and she used her fortune to build a school and a medical clinic on the very land where Smoky Mountain once stood. She didn't just escape the dump, she leveled it, replacing a monument of despair with a monument of hope, proving that sometimes the most beautiful things rise from the most unlikely places. Thank you for watching this story of hope and destiny. We would love to know where in the world you are joining us from today. Please tell us in the comments which part of the country you are watching this video from.